Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Transcend and Succeed show. I'm your guest host, Megan North, and I am so pleased to introduce you to this week's guest, Megs Bassili. So you've got two Megs for the price of one. Megs has been an intuitive for a decade, helping women to reclaim their inner wisdom and life and business through energy healing, calibration and activation. After owning her own successful hairdressing salon for 8 years, Megs took her spiritual gifts from the salon chair to the online space for bigger impact in 2020. She serves spiritual purpose-driven leaders who choose to develop their own gifts and capacities to do business in alignment with their soul, so that this essential piece of aligned business no longer needs to be outsourced or stay a mystery. Business owners love Megs. They love her clear, down-to-earth, no BS style, bringing the unseen into the everyday in accessible and remarkable ways. Welcome to the show, Megs. I'm so pleased and delighted that you're here with me today.
Oh, thank you. When you say it like that, it's like, yeah, it hits home for me. Thank you.
Oh, it's nice too. So Megs and I met last year when we were doing some training together, and we definitely clicked and bonded immediately. So it wasn't just the same name, but I definitely think the energy is the same as well. So I'm really excited for the audience to hear your story today. So let's dive right in. So your background is in hairdressing. So how and why, and I don't know, just how did you know that you're intuitive? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I think that's why I'm really good at talking from my hairdressing background. Yeah. So when I was young, I had some intuitive nature. I don't remember a lot of it. My mum has told me so many different stories about things that I knew that I didn't know that I knew.
Okay, so, like what?
What? So my dad passed away when I was 15, and he was very good at his job. He was a salesperson, and he had so much information about all his clients, like their kids' names, what sports their kids did. He was very good at what he did. He took a lot of information, and his work obviously wanted that information. And so they were trying all these different passwords, and my mum's like, they're asking, Mum, what's the password? What do you think the password could be? And she's like, I don't know, try this, try this, try this. And the IT guys could not get into it. And I had a dream. Dad came to me in a dream, and he told, even in the other side, even in the other realm, my dad's worried about his work. And he gave me the password, and I blocked out a lot of stuff, obviously, after my dad passed. And I was like, I don't even remember that. She's like, it was incredible. Like, you just walked out, and I said, good morning. And you said, the password is whatever it was. And I was like, so far. So yeah, just things like that. You know, just I don't know, just knowing that when my parents had like a bit of an argument, I'd be like walking in the room and go, "What's wrong? What happened? Why are you sad?" Mum's like, "I'm not sad. Don't lie to me, Mum. I know when you're sad." So not that happened very often. My parents never fought, but you know, yeah. So I could read the energy of the room from a very, very young age. But yeah, I blocked all that out. And then when I started my salon, my hairdressing salon, I was having lots of really intense, scary nightmares. I couldn't. I woke up bashing into my husband because he was cheating on me. I started running around the house because there was a giant snake that was after my children, and like it was very intense. And so I went to a psychologist, and she was like, "You're an empath and you're a psychic and someone's psychically attacking you. And so we need to teach you all this stuff." And once I knew it, when she said it, I knew it. I was like, yeah. So I went and did a psychic development course, and the teacher said, "You're out reading me after 2 terms. So I don't have anything left to teach you." Like, oh, okay.
Wow.
So yeah. And then once COVID hit, I'd always suffered with endometriosis, but I had a hysterectomy over 10 years before, and my body was just in so much pain. And then when COVID hit and I couldn't do hairdressing for a little bit, my body then liked not hairdressing, so I had to stop because of all the pain that was in my body. So
and it's incredible that when you said, you know, you went to see a psychologist and then the psychologist identified those gifts that you had. It's really interesting because sometimes you go to psychologists and they're so clinical that, you know, they take you down a different track of, you know, more of a psychology, a non-intuitive way, I suppose. So how lucky were you that, you know, that's incredible that it was a psychologist that actually founded those gifts or identified them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of my clients, that I was doing her hair, she had crystal jewelry on all the time. She was like very, very, very hippie-like, you could say that. And it was her mother-in-law. So she said, like, "You should talk to my mother-in-law because she's like me. She's like a psychologist version of me." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I went and seen her, and as soon as I walked in, she goes, "I can tell you what your problem is." I was like, "What then? You don't know anything about me. You've never met me before."
Yeah.
"But you know what my problem is?" She goes, "Yeah, you're an empath and you're absorbing other people's energies and your body can't handle it, and your spirit team are telling you to wake up. They're slapping you." And I was like, "Oh." She goes, "That's why you're having dreams." And I was like, "Oh, you know nothing about me. How do you know?" Because she was a psychic. So yeah, very lucky to find her.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, I'd be on antidepressants right now, not talking to you.
Well, but, I mean, who knows how long it could have taken for you to actually then realise those gifts, you know? So that's amazing. I love that. And did you find that when you were doing people's hair, were you getting messages about them? Like, was it happening when you were a hairdresser?
Yeah, it was to a degree, but I never acted on it.
Okay.
I never really, like, I could tell when people were having trouble. I'm just looking because I used to do hairdressing, you know, like just literally right there. So I was like remembering when a client, she was sitting there and she was having some issues, and I was saying to her, like, you know, and I was kind of intuitively tapping in, like, "Do you need a hug from me right now? Do you just need a shoulder to cry on? Do you need a vent? What do you need?" And I was able to tap into her to a certain degree without reading her, because I feel like that's like, I don't like reading people's energy without their permission, but I was able to know what she needed from me at that moment. And I hugged her and she was like, "You've never hugged me before." I was like, "I know, but I really felt like you needed a hug." She goes, "I did."
Oh, wow.
So it was things like that. And when I was doing head massages, I was like, is it okay if I do a bit of Reiki on you while I'm giving you a head massage? And every single client was like, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was things like that. And, you know, being able to know that sometimes people would come in and want a complete overhaul with their look. And I'd be like, oh, no, it's just because you're not feeling very well at the moment. And after a couple of weeks, you're going to regret that. So,
yeah.
Maybe let's find out why you want to change and then if it's a good enough reason. And it was like, I knew as soon as I walked in, I was like, she's going through something and she wants to cut all her hair off and then she's going to regret it. So little things like that.
Yep.
But I wouldn't actually read people without their permission. I'm very against that.
Yeah. 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 It's one of the things that we need to balance, isn't it? Even just around family and friends, you know, I always tune in and think, oh, do they want this message? Or I usually ask, can I tell you what I'm getting at the moment? And most people say yes, but every now and then someone's like, no. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, you just move on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when I'm around family that I know are not open to it at all, I just completely put my block up. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to know anything. Just shut me down.
Yeah.
So it's about who you're around too.
Yeah. And so when we're talking about, you know, when we're learning about intuition and when we're understanding what all our gifts are and those sort of things, what is the concept or the term developed intuition? What does that mean?
So it's more focused.
Okay.
It's very focused and it's very intentional. So you set your intentions of when you open up and when you close down, because when I'm laying down on the couch, for instance, and I'm resting, I don't want to hear any messages because this is my rest time. Like, you know, and if I get messages, then I'm going to want to action that. And then what's the point of resting?
Mm-hmm.
When I go into a shopping center and there's lots of people around, you want to be able to close that down so you're not that weird old woman, and not always old, but, you know, that weird woman who taps on random people's shoulder and go, so I've got a message from your dead sister.
Yeah.
Like, that's very, you know, they didn't ask for that at that moment. So I close myself down.
Mm-hmm.
But opening myself up to when I'm eating, like, am I eating because I'm bored? Am I eating because, like, I feel like intuitively I need this substance?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I'm doing my marketing, for instance, it's like, I'm not tapping into anyone in specific, but what does the collective need to hear from me in order to, you know, react or respond to what I'm saying in a positive way? So it's more than just, you know, reading people. You can actually live your entire life as an intuitive being and really honing in and focusing on, what do my kids need? What does my husband need? What do I need? Those kind of things. And for me, it just takes the guesswork out of a lot of things. And so I'm not second guessing myself at every turn. I'm just using my inner guidance to determine what I need at that moment. Or, you know, even though I don't read my clients that much anymore because I'm teaching them how to read themselves, you know, I can still say, yes, you're on the right track, or I can help them on that deeper level. So,
right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. It's interesting because when I heard the term, just when you talked about it, developed intuition, I thought, is that you're getting really good at your intuition? You know, are you developing it? But now I understand it's kind of like you're giving your intuition boundaries, in the sense of, I'm going to turn you on now because I need you, but now I need you to be quiet because I need to rest. Or
yeah. So it's that, and it's just there's so much to it. There's so much to it, and a lot of people just think, oh yeah, I listen to my intuition when it tells me, you know, you should drop this offer or whatever. But when you really develop the intuitive nature of it, it's like, what is the best strategy for me to use for this particular offer? Because, as you know, there's a million different strategies out there, and it's like, well, how do I decide which one to actually use? So it's using your intuition to determine how I can help people and what strategy to use and how often should I post about this particular thing. And, it just develops. It's so much more than just tapping in and doing a psychic reading every now and again. You don't have to do psychic readings at all if that's not something that you want to do.
Yeah.
But you can actually lead a very fulfilling, beautiful life just by listening to your intuition.
Yeah.
And setting that intention. Like when you contacted me to do this, I was on a holiday up at Airlie Beach. And just as I was getting on the plane to go up there, I said to my husband, every single opportunity that presents itself over this week, I'm going to take every opportunity. So my mum said, do you want a sneaky cocktail? I was like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want this? Yes. Do you want that? Yes. Do you want this? Yes. And then you messaged me. It's like, do you want to do this thing? I was like, yes, I definitely want to do that. So these are the things when you open yourself up to opportunities as well, because your vibration starts to then increase. You start to become more authentic. You're not worrying about whether I should do this thing or that's a waste of energy.
Yeah.
Worrying and stress is such a waste of energy. And when you're really tapping into your intuition, you don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think too that when you're tapping in and you're using it, because I think then tapping in, you're using it to your benefit, right? That it's benefiting you to benefit other people. And so you don't feel as drained. You don't feel that people are taking your energy. I know I always feel protected in that sense because I'm using it in the right way, at the right time, for the right people.
For the right reasons.
For the right reasons, yeah. Yeah, really interesting. Yeah. So I'm going to just take us to a quick break. But when we come back, I want to ask you just in relation to psychic readings and do you do psychic readings? Can you do psychic readings? And let's explore that a little bit more. So I'm just going to take us to a break and we'll be back. We will be back in a minute.
Fantastic.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with the lovely Megs Bassili, and we've just been talking about developed intuition, and you touched on psychic reading. So is psychic reading something that you do? And if it is, can you explain to the audience what that means?
Yeah, so I do psychic readings and I do energy readings as well. So the psychic is really basically what it is. I'm just gonna explain it to you. So basically what it is my aura, because as you know, we receive a lot of information from our aura, and our sacral and our third eye, they all work together. But our aura is like, there's so much information written in our aura. And so my aura basically reads your aura, and your aura is receiving messages from your body, from your intuition, from your angels, from God. There's so much information that comes through. So it's basically my aura reading your aura, and all the messages that you receive that you can't quite hear yet, or you can't hear, I can hear them through my aura, and then I decipher.
Right.
My brain basically is taken out of the equation, and my brain just literally deciphers the messages that you get. So if there's anything that's within your body that it's like, oh, it's stagnant energy, or this just doesn't feel right, or, you know, maybe you have an emotional trauma that's there and you need that clearing out, I can pinpoint basically exactly what it is and what you need to do to remove it. I can help remove it. I don't normally do that. Or I do it a lot. I shouldn't say that. I do it a lot, but I can guide you on what you need so that you can then take your action on what you need in that moment. So whether you go and get Reiki from it, or you go and get some other form of healing. I use light language in my healings. So, so there's subconscious, our cells, our DNA. There's so much information coded within us that we don't even realize that are there. So that's basically what a psychic reading is. And I can get messages from your higher self that knows everything there is to know about you, past, present, and future. So that's how we can know what the future is, because my higher self has talked to your higher self, who then talks to my aura, who then talks to me, and then it comes out of my mouth.
Right. Okay. And so when you're saying that you're reading, your aura is reading my aura, and then it comes into your brain, and then it comes out of your mouth, do you hear it? Or is it channeled? How do you know what to say?
A lot of it is in my gut. I have feeling. My highest Claire is feeling. So I feel like if I get a message for you, for instance, I've had lots of messages for you, and I've messaged you randomly oh, Megan, there's this thing that I didn't read you, but a thought of you came into my head, and then this message came through. I couldn't control it, but I always give what I get. So it's my feeling. I feel like I need to go for a walk, or I feel like I need to create this offer about this thing, and I'm like, I don't even know anything about that, so I can't create that. So it's not meant for me, So, or I'll get I'll get really tired, or I'll feel pain in my body where your stagnant energy is. It's but I know what that means. So, for instance, if my right hip hurts, I know that it's because you're not stabilizing yourself in your strategy, because that's the masculine side. And I know that, you can't stand firmly on both your feet because your hip is out of whack, because there's stagnancy around strategy or whatever it is that I'm feeling. I generally get the feeling, but the deep sense of knowing that is the truth, because I'm connected. I don't second guess it. Every time I've second guessed it, it's people are like, oh, so can you explain this to me? And I'm like, I literally was just about to say that, but I didn't for some reason.
Yeah.
It was because they needed to ask me instead of me initiating it. I don't really know. I still don't understand everything, but I don't think I ever will. And
Yeah.
I think part of the beautiful mystery of life is that you don't always know, but you trust.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, interesting. It's always good because I always like to probe that sort of thing because for the audience, particularly if you're new to understanding intuition or auras and that sort of thing, I think it's interesting to get people's thoughts and, how it comes to you because we're all different from an intuitive point of view. So
Yeah.
really interesting. I love that. I love it.
And we all tap into our intuition in a different way too. Like it's like how you tap into your intuition is probably completely different to the way I tap into my intuition.
Yeah.
So this is what, like, when you do the intuitive work and you learn how to use your intuition, it's like everybody is unique. So I tap into how you use your intuition, and then I can expand on that and guide you through that. So
Yeah. Interesting. And so when you said then when COVID started, I'm assuming that had an impact on your hairdressing business?
Yeah. So when the first time came around, we didn't have to close.
Right.
Hairdressers could remain open.
Mm-hmm.
But because I work from home, I was really concerned about my children.
Mm.
And my husband was still working as well. And I was like, he was casual. So it's like, I couldn't risk it. So I closed on those first 8 weeks, even though I didn't need to. Some of my clients were good with it, and some of my clients were like, well, then I'm going to go somewhere else. I was like, okay, well, I can't stop you from doing that. So I did lose a few clients because I didn't have to close.
Yeah.
And then the second time, the government said you have to close.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were a lot more understanding that time around. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand why people were like, well, you don't have to close, so why are you closing? I'm like, well, we didn't know anything about it back at that stage. So I was like, I don't want to risk my kids'
health. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did take a bit of a plummet. But just before that, we had, in the December before that, we had fires around here.
Mm-hmm.
So we had fire both ends of our street. There was fire everywhere. According to the media, my area was completely wiped out. Like, no, we're not, because I'm here witnessing everything. So I had to rearrange my clients a lot from that experience.
Right.
So then when COVID hit, I was kind of like, I've already done this before.
Yeah, you're a bit.
Yeah, we did take a bit of a hit, but it was good in a way because it prompted me to start online. So
right, okay.
For it, yeah.
Yeah, so that was what I was going to ask you then. Was that then the prompt of you going down the road of the online work that you now do?
Yeah, well, when we were hairdressing full out, I had a coach for my business then, and that was when I really started to get into the intuitive psychic reading stuff, because I was offering only psychic readings at that point, but I was new to it. So I said to the coach at the time, because it was a group and hybrid, it was group and one-on-one, and I said, is it all right if I do some psychic readings for the people that are in the group? And he's like, yeah, go for it. And every single one of them was like, you should be a coach. You should be a coach. Because I wasn't just reading them, I was coaching them through the transition of the moves that they needed to take.
Mm-hmm.
And then the word got back to him, and they were like, she's very intuitive, and the way she explains things is really, really well. So you should hire her as a coach. And he's like, he actually messaged me and he was like, we need to chat. And I was like, oh no.
You're in trouble.
I'm in trouble. But he got on a chat with me and he goes, look, I'm just not interested in putting a psychic on for hairdressing business coaching. And I was like, oh, I thought I overstepped my mark, but no. Yeah, no, completely fine, because I was not ready for that either. But that planted the seed, and then COVID kind of drove it home.
Right. Interesting. Wow. How interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're new to this world of intuition, what advice would you give to people on how can they strengthen and deeply trust their intuition?
Good question. So the first thing is to develop trust.
Okay.
You got to be able to trust yourself. That is the beginning and the end of intuition. Because if you receive a message but you don't trust it, you're not going to take action on it. It's just as simple. So building trust is going to be the thing that's going to kickstart all of it. So, for instance, stop lying to yourself. Number one. So don't make big, bold decisions that you know you can't hold. So for instance, like, I'm only going to drink water today, knowing full well that at about 3:30, you're going to start to want a coffee. And so if you have that coffee, you've then broken that promise to yourself. So instead go, for the next hour, I'm going to drink only water. And then you hold that promise, you keep that promise to yourself. So after this, I'm going to go and have my lunch, and it's going to be a nice, healthy lunch. Make sure that you follow through with that. And then you're going to start building that trust with yourself, because you're no longer gaslighting yourself and you're no longer lying to yourself on a regular basis. You still might do it a little bit here and there. Let's face it, we're human, but
yeah.
So follow through with the actions that you say that you're going to take for yourself. And the biggest thing to make sure you follow through with that is to not make big, bold promises to yourself. Like, you're having a bit of a healthy moment, so you go into the fridge and then you take all the unhealthy food out, you throw it in the bin, and then 5 minutes later you're going, oh, I'm snackish. I really would like a piece of chocolate, but it's not there anymore because you've thrown it out. So it's not making that whole big fridge clean out. It's about going, well, what if, prove to yourself that you can hold that energy of trust. And then once you start making regular healthy decisions, because you're a human, you're going to want to have that piece of chocolate. You're going to want to do, but maybe not have 5 blocks of chocolate in there sitting there waiting for you. Maybe only have one.
Yep.
At a time. So it's like making those promises to yourself that are sustainable promises, and then acting on that, and then your intuition will start to, well, you're trusting me a little bit more now, so I'm going to start presenting myself to you a little bit more now. But that's a gradual way of really starting to connect in. Another thing is to just meditate, like, honestly, meditating and connecting into your body and asking your body either out loud or in your head, what do I need to do right now? And then follow through with that guidance. If the guidance is doing the dishes and you don't want to do the dishes, then maybe don't ask the question. But if you feel like, oh, I want to go and do the dishes right now, then follow through with that and trust that that's the guidance that you need to do. It might ground you. The satisfaction and the dopamine hit of having a clean kitchen then kicks in. And so there's a lot of benefits more than just having a clean kitchen. It's about, stressing less. If your area around you is clean, it's been scientifically proven that if the area around you is clean, then your mind is more likely to be cleaner and you can have more focus. So this is how you're listening to your intuition leads you to do the dishes, but then leads you to feeling fulfilled, which leads you to feeling clearer, which leads you to feeling like, it's like a snowball effect of, it's very important. A lot of people underestimate how important listening to your intuition actually is. Well, once you start doing it, you stop second guessing yourself so much and you stop worrying so much, and that has such a big effect on your psychology.
Yeah. And I love that, I've never really thought of it that way about the trusting your intuition, because completely different way for me to think about it. So my mind is racing at the moment. But I love that, because the thing is that when we're developing all of these amazing senses and gifts, the universe and all of our angels and guides are there to support us, and they want to help us. But if we ask them something and then we don't do what they're suggesting, then they're going to get to a point where it's kind of like, well, okay, I'll give you a message, but you're not going to really take it in, or you're not going to action it. And actually, I feel like that then that's a way of dulling your intuition, because the universe, I don't think the universe would give up on you, and I don't think your guides or angels would, but I don't know, I just sort of feel like it just gets to the point where it's like, well, what's the point? You keep asking me, but you're not doing anything about it.
Yeah, well, I feel like the messages itself changes.
Right.
So at the beginning, when you're really trusting, or like when you start listening, the messages are like, okay, so get a pen and paper. This is going to be like, this is what you need to do. And it will be this, then this, then this. And sometimes we will go, but I need more than that. And they go, no, you don't. This. Start with that. And then you're going to go, oh, okay. But if you don't listen, then they're going to go, all right, look, how about ya? And it's not clear, direct messages. It's more about first get off the lounge. Then if you listen to me, then I'll give you another message.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then once you do that, then I might give you another message if you action that first. But if you're not actioning anything, then they're going to be like, when you ask for it, they're going to be like, look, we're going to dumb this right down for you, because clearly you don't listen. Whereas for me, I get like, when I'm, asking for direction, or I'm needing direction, and I really open up and I'm like, okay, Lord, give it to me. Just give me what I need. Everything comes through. So for instance, I was at the beach the other day and I was like, okay, right, give it to me. And it was like, well, you're rushing and you're not taking care of yourself, and you're doing this and this, and your business is coming before yourself. Like, we don't want that for you. And it was like this whole list of things, and they're like, whoa, just let me write this down. And I was like, okay. And I was writing like a crazy person. But if I'm in those moments where I'm not listening so much, it's like, listen, first thing you need to do is just trust in yourself and understand your power. And I'm like, well, that's very blasé. Thank you. But yeah, it's like the message, the more that you listen, the messages get very direct and very insightful, rather than beating around the bush and go, how about first of all, you drink more water? How's that going to help me in my business? But so the messages, they don't give up on you, like you said. They'll never ever give up on you. But the messages, it's like they go from talking to a CEO who is quite capable of doing everything, and then they start to talk to you like you're a 2-year-old who can't even tie their own shoes.
Yeah.
So they kind of like dull down the message, which, like you said, dulls down the intuition as a result of doling down the message that comes through.
Yeah. Very interesting. So then you were talking about business. And so how do you think that intuition plays a role in the success of business?
Well, when you receive a message of something to do and you put that into action quite quickly, you trust that message was for you, then you're going to be able to start taking that action a lot quicker. You'll be a lot more confident in yourself. People are drawn to other people that are confident. You're going to be able to put that offer on the table as quickly as you possibly can. So it might only take you a couple of days. But if you're not listening to your intuition and you get this message come through and you're like, oh, okay, well, now I need a sign that was meant for me. And then the sign might take a day. And then you're like, sometimes, and I've done this in the past myself, sometimes I'm like, oh, that message wasn't clear enough. I need another one. Like, I don't need a butterfly. I need a blue butterfly with white dots on it. Thank you very much. And then that might take a couple of days for you, because you've got to be hyper vigilant in those moments too. You've got to be looking for the signs as well, and that takes energy.
Yeah.
So a person that listens to their intuition has already got the offer up and running, and maybe have 3 people in their offer, and you're still looking for a sign, worrying that it's not meant for you.
Yeah.
So that's just like, 2 different ways of processing your intuition. One is going to make quick action, quick, decisive, clear action. And the other is waiting for a sign 2.5 weeks later when they could have had money in the bank. They could be helping those people already.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just about the money in the bank. It's like, well, 3 people have jumped onto this other person's offer because it's there, and you're still looking for a sign.
Yeah. And then do you think then that that's a bit of self-sabotage if you're then being like your blue butterfly with white dots, and you're still, 3 or 4 days later looking for it? Is that then what we call self-sabotage?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Because you're sabotaging yourself because you're not trusting yourself. So trust is going to be like, trust leads to confidence, and all those properties that these, like, people that are raking in, like, I seen a woman the other day who was like, oh, this is a last minute offer, I'm going to put this out. I wasn't intending on doing it, but I decided, yep, her intuition spoke to her, so she listened and she put the offer out. And within like a couple of hours, like, she had 100 people in there. And I was like, she made $8,000 in a couple of hours from listening to her intuition. And then there's other people out there that are going, should I put this offer together? I don't know. Maybe I should. And they're, proper Aussie terminology, fart-assing around. And they could have been making money already. So it is definitely a sabotage, because it's like, if you don't trust yourself, maybe you don't feel worthy of trusting yourself. So maybe you don't feel worthy of money. So then you're going to sabotage yourself because you're not confident enough to just go, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that confidence is a lot to do with the stuff that we do in our business. Because I've put offers out before for things, and maybe 1 or 2 people have picked it up, or no one has picked it up. But I just have to. For me, I keep trusting the messages that I get and putting things out. So last week for Lionsgate, the night before, I had a message. I was having a conversation with my husband, and then I got this message to say, offer your readings for $88. And so I was like, okay. So I put it out, and I had 10 people sign up for the readings, because, and I thought, well, wow, okay. And I think it's just about that internal confidence of not every single thing we put out there is going to be amazing. And sometimes you put things out there and it doesn't work, but I think it's, don't let that stop you from then doing the next one or the next one.
Yeah. Well, a big thing to that too is sometimes when an idea comes to you, it kind of just flutters around in your third eye and your crown chakra, maybe drops it down into the throat chakra, because you do speak about what you're now offering, and it does affect your heart chakra to a degree. Because it's like, well, I love what I do, and so therefore, but you've got to be able to understand how to then drop that offer down into your solar plexus and your sacral and your base chakra, down into your hips, and really ground it down in through your legs, because that's the embodiment process of the offer. So it's like when you start talking about it through your through your throat chakra, but it's like rooted down into your base chakra, you're going to feel more stability talking about it. You're going to feel stable and safe and supported to talk about it. When it comes through your sacral chakra, this is a tangent, sorry, but you're going to be able to really tap into the creativity of that offer, and bringing it down into your solar, you're going to feel confident to speak about it more. So sometimes it's not that the offer isn't aligned, or that the offer, this is what intuition is. It's like, well, why isn't this offer selling the way that I wanted it to? Oh, because I haven't brought it down into my body enough. Oh, it's not in alignment. Oh, maybe I'm trying to talk to the wrong people, or maybe I've rushed into it too much. And so, like, this is the thing about listening to your intuition, is you can actually say, why is this not working? Well, because you're rushing it. You haven't got all your ducks in a line yet. Like, there's so many different reasons as to why an offer isn't working. It might even be that you haven't spoken about it enough. You should have put 3 emails out instead of 1.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it than just putting an offer out there and hoping somebody buys it. It's embodying that offer, and then when nobody is buying it, why is that?
Yeah.
So you're listening to your inner guidance. So then you're not going, crying for 3 days because your offer didn't sell. It's like, well, it's because next time I need to put it out there more, or I need to speak about it instead of just writing about it.
Yeah, okay.
There's so much, and this is why intuition is so important, is because there's so much to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that, yeah.
Very interesting. I need to probably reflect on that. I think we need to have a conversation.
Yes, you do. Seems like it. Nice.
Now, talking about offers, I think that you've got an offer for the audience today.
Yeah, I do. So I have the Infinite CEO membership. And the first payment, if you come through this one, is quite heavily reduced.
Yeah.
So join into that. Every month in there's a different theme based on what the collective need. So for August this month, we are talking about the divine feminine, so the light and the dark feminine, and combining them to embody the divine feminine. So taking traits from what you are in alignment with, different traits, and bringing it down into your business and into your life. Last month we spoke about chakras. The month before we spoke about the void and how to utilize the void for your benefit instead of being scared of the void and feeling like it's a dark, horrible place. It's actually, the void is where you learn a lot about yourself.
And so can you explain a little bit more about that? Like the void, what do you mean by that?
So, in those moments where you're not feeling yourself, you're feeling a bit off, and nothing seems to be going right, nothing seems to be working the way that you want it to or that you anticipate it to, you're just feeling heavy. We all go through those moments. And so sometimes in the void, you could be in there for months and months and months because you're focusing on the fact that you're in the void.
Right, okay.
So when you're in the void, it's a really good moment to say, well, what is not working for me? What do I hate doing? If I was to do it right now in the void, what would I absolutely hate doing right now? And then either getting rid of it, delegating it, or shifting it into something that is more in alignment to you.
Right.
Because your energy is so different when you're in the void. It's like, things that when you're in a high vibrational state, they kind of bother you a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
But they're still there.
Yeah.
And then when you're in the void, you're like, get rid of that. I can't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
And so it makes you focus on the things that aren't working for you so that you can then clear them out. And as a result, you actually get out of the void. So,
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. And that's good. It's good. And so when someone is working with you, so when someone engages your services and they're working with you in particular around probably their business and how you can help them, have you got a quick couple of minute success story that you could share so that the audience understands, what they could expect if they work with you?
Yeah, so one of my clients, she was very, very niched down into something that was no longer working for her. She was feeling like she had to push herself to show up in her business because it just wasn't it wasn't fulfilling to her anymore. At the beginning, it was so fulfilling, and then she kind of got stuck in this, I need to keep going down this because it's making me money kind of avenue.
Right.
And she released a lot of that. We released a lot of emotions around all that kind of stuff. And she's now opened herself up to so much more money because she's now offering it to a completely different niche.
Right.
She's let go of clients that were not in alignment with her. She's now creating these amazing offers and these amazing things because she actually knows how to tap into her intuition. She knows now what is right for her and what is not right for her. So she saves so much time on trying to sort through everything so that she can then take action on it. She's just tapping in, action in it. She's actually going great guns. So I'm really proud of her, actually. Very, very proud of her. So yeah, her revenue's increased. She feels a lot happier and more herself than she ever has before. So
okay, great. Oh, that's really good. It's a good insight into, it's always nice to hear a success story of someone that, they started here and now they're here. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, yeah, and now that she's doing business her way and that's in alignment to her, she's got more time with her kids while she's making more money as well. So it's like a win-win.
Definitely, for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So we've only got a couple of minutes left. Can you believe that? So quickly.
This has gone very fast, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the same question that I ask all of my guests before we finish our conversation. So what is your favourite quote and why is it so important to you?
My husband actually came up with this quote, which was quite interesting. He said, you've got to treat yourself like you're important. So no one's going to come and make you feel important unless you make yourself feel important. So putting yourself first, making sure that you're in the right mindset before you go and try and help your clients, make you important. So you are the main character, you're the queen, you're the sovereign, you are it. It all starts with you, it all ends with you. So yeah, you've got to treat yourself like you're actually a really, really important person. Because
love it. That's beautiful. What a great, thanks. Thanks, Vic.
Yeah, he's quite clever actually. He's some of the things that he says is like, he's very wise.
Yes, very wise. I think that's really excellent. And reality is that if we're not at our best selves, then we're not there for everybody else. So we've got to look after ourselves first. So
sometimes we focus so much on what we can do for others,
instead
of what we can and what we should be doing for ourselves.
For ourselves, yeah. It's a beautiful way to finish our conversation. I want to thank you for sharing all of your gifts with us today. And even though I know that we've known each other for a little while now, I still have learned some things about you. So thank you. I love that. And I have no doubt that our audience will take away a lot from our conversation today as well. I also want to thank all of our amazing and dedicated listeners and supporters, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.